It's shrimp time, baby.
With someone you are. With someone you are.
Hit the subscribe button to enlist in the H2O Army. Also, hit the bell to join our elite notification squad.
What's going on, H2O Army? Justin from H2O Plants, and today we're going to be doing another update on our 55-gallon. Today we're going to be introducing some shrimp. But before we do that, we have to do a couple modifications to our current tank. The reason being is if we want the shrimp to breed and have a successful colony, there's some things that the tank is not set up properly to do. First off, when I wanted to get the shrimp, I wanted to make sure that my TDS was in line with what they're being raised in at the local fish store, as well as just to know what my TDS is. Well, at the Aquatic Experience, I was gifted a TDS meter from Hanna Instruments. I tested both my tank water, my tap water, and also I did a calibration test with their fluid that they give you inside the box to make sure you could calibrate it correctly. And I did all that, and I found out a couple different things, because I also tested the store water. So I tested not only the tap water, which came out to be about 200 to 250, I tested my tank water, which came out to be about 300 to 350. I calibrated it to make sure that the calibration was correct. And then also I tested the store water, and that came out to be about 440 parts per million, or TDS. And that was very interesting to me because, one, I read a lot and did a lot of research that most of the shrimp that I was getting was going to do well in a lower TDS. So 440 was on the very high end of the TDS spectrum for them. It's actually about 100 higher than anything else that it should be. So with the shrimp coming from a TDS of 440 into the TDS of 350 that the tank is, I was pretty much alright with that because it's better that I can lower the TDS than have it be much higher, because if my TDS, let's say, was 800, that'd be really difficult to adjust them to. But at least it's a lower, and that's easier to kind of get them to than trying to bring down an 800 TDS down lower. So if you want to pick up that TDS meter, I'll throw the links in the description below. It does help support me, but you can pick it up from Amazon if you want. We may be carrying them in the future, and if we do, I'll make sure I'll update the link to our website where you can purchase them as well. In addition to TDS, there's two other things that you really need to look for when you're introducing shrimp into a tank is GH and KH. You want to test those things, make sure that they are in line with the shrimp species that you're getting. Now, I know we haven't revealed our shrimp species yet, but I did know that my GH and KH was okay based on me previously having shrimp. I previously kept cherry shrimp, Amano shrimp, and they were fine. The only difference is the tanks that they were in, I was overdosing fertilizer, which was not good for them, and shortly killed them all. And that was just because I thought that they would be able to handle the dosing. They didn't, and therefore they all passed away, unfortunately. Shrimp are very sensitive. So what shrimp did we get today? Well, we got what are called 24-karat golden back Sakura shrimp. Now, they were from my local fish store. He says they're just Sakura shrimp, but after doing some research on them, they have this golden yellow stripe down the center of their back, as well as some translucency to the rest of their body, but they're still yellow. And they're very beautiful shrimp. They drew my eye right away, essentially, when I went to get them. As well as they're huge. They're bigger than most Amano shrimp that I've ever had, and they're bigger than the Celeste Pearl-Danios that are inside this tank. They're about double the size, so I don't have to worry about them being eaten by any of the fish, really. Now, you may be thinking, well, you have two huge reticulated flying foxes in there. They're not going to attack the shrimp. They may pick off some of the fry, but I don't think that they will. They're very gentle creatures, and pretty much as long as I give the fry enough places to hide and be secure, they'll be just fine. So, speaking of the fry, if we want to have a successful colony, what else do we have to do to this tank? Modify our filter intake. Basically, the filter intake has too big of holes that will allow baby shrimp and baby fish to pass through it easily, which I don't want. I want this tank to be able to produce shrimp, I want it to be able to produce fry, and with having those slits there, it would just get sucked up right into the filter. So what do we have to do? We have to modify it. So what did I do to modify it? Well, I got an AquaClear 110 sponge, which is very porous. Pores per inch are 20. I'm not exactly sure of how they're measured, but I do know that those are much bigger pores, so it prevents it from being clogged much easier than, say, more filter sponges that have smaller pores. In addition, I also got some pipettes, and I did get some zip ties. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rig the pipettes around the filter intake, so that way it creates a little gap in between the sponge and the filter intake. This is going to prevent the filter intake from sucking up the sponge too much, which has happened to me in the past. I don't know if it'll happen because of how big the pores are in this, and I've only experienced it with smaller pores, so meaning more pores per inch. But this seems to be working so far. So what I did is I cut a hole for the filter intake to sit on it. I also taped around the filter intake with the pipettes, and then I zip tied them because the tape wouldn't last, obviously. So we zip tied them to that. And that's just to, like I said, create just a little gap in between so it doesn't get sucked up too much. Then what we did is we fitted the intake back onto the intake pipe. I put some Bulbitis back in place where it was originally to hide it, so you can't even see that the filter intake sponge is there. And so two other additional things that I did to kind of make the shrimp feel a little bit better is I introduced both Indian almond leaves and some leaf litter that will provide tannins and lower the pH slightly, as well as provide grazing surface for them to graze on. And I also added in a couple of mineral rocks. Now, I'm not sure if they do anything. I haven't tested them, but people online recommended them. So I said I'll give them a try. So I introduced 2 mineral rocks into the tank to allow them just to have extra calcium to molt properly and live a healthy life. Guys, and that brings us to today's sponsor. It's actually ourselves, H2Oplants.com. If you need any plants, driftwood, fertilizer, head on over there, check it out. We're running 25% off the rest of the month until December 26th of all of those things, except for our signature skate packages. When you make a purchase there, it really helps support our channel and our business. It allows us to make these videos. It really helps. Of course, we'll still make videos even if you don't feel like you absolutely have to, but if you need plants, take advantage of that 25% off. Head over to H2Oplants.com. Pick yourself up some awesome plants at a really good discount. In addition, I also added some Physidum flectanus. This is a very prolific moss. It will slowly take over the rest of the tank, grow on the wood, grow on the substrate, grow on the rocks, and that's what I want. I wanted to provide a huge grazing area for the shrimp, and I also wanted to allow for a grazing area for baby shrimp and regular shrimp to be able to graze on. The more moss you have, the more surface area that they'll be able to pick from, and that is ideal. In addition to the shrimp, I also added 2 more fish into this tank. Well, one being more Celeste Pearl Danios, so now we should have a total of about 47 in here. And I also added some Cory Hasboras, which are in here, but we did lose a couple within the first couple of days. I'm not sure what happened. A couple of them survived, a couple of them didn't. Not entirely sure. Now you may say, well, why didn't you quarantine these fish? All these fish and shrimp are new, so I'm not worried about introducing them and treating the whole tank for any kind of illness or any kind of parasite or anything like that that I may need to treat for. They're all new. They're all coming from the same spot. So if there's any issue, I'll just treat them all. It's much easier that way. Alright guys, so in our last video update, I asked you to vote on the top 4 names that I chose for this tank that you guys have recommended in the comments below. The winner was Cryptopia, so we're going to be naming this tank Cryptopia. That's what it's going to refer to, but we do have some more plans for this tank in the future, so make sure you stay tuned and hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Also, I have a question for you guys that I really need you guys to do your part here. What should we call the squad or the colony of the 24-karat golden back Sakura shrimp? Obviously, that's a mouthful. It's a ton of names. But simply come up with what you think would be the coolest name, and we will name that colony. And hopefully, they do establish a colony and continue to grow, and we see lots of them. That's what I'm hoping for. As well as on my last video, I know it was more of a kind of a sad story, and I don't know if everybody made it to that point. Everybody was just saying, we're sorry for your loss and your fish. And I do appreciate it all. Thank you guys so much. We will be doing a more in-depth video of exactly what happened in the future, because there was a lot of questions that came up about it. But I asked a question in that video, and it didn't really get answered because it was overshadowed by just the immense pour out of, you know, we're sorry for your loss kind of thing. So what I need you guys to do, as well as naming the shrimp, I also need you to come up with a name for the Celeste Pearl Danios. There's only a couple of name suggestions. There wasn't enough to do a vote. So make sure that you comment both name suggestions down below. Let me know what the golden back shrimp should be called and the Celeste Pearl Danios. And we will pick those names, our top 4, and we'll be voting on them in a future video. So make sure you do that down below. Alright guys, and that brings us to the end of the video. As always, hit that like button, subscribe here if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.
Yeah. You ready? Hey. Let's go. Bet. Yo, once again I'm back around. real shit back in style. Haters reconcile. I'm so black and proud. First class tickets now. Feet all in the aisle. Everybody looking down. Everybody get red when you brown, huh? Looking me up. I'm putting it down. You picking it up. Checking the models. They want us to go to college just so we can be stuck. Go to school to make a living, or teach yourself to make a fortune. Common sense. Welcome to the apocalypse. Bitch, I'm one of the horsemen. I don't need your endorsement. I don't need reinforcement. Giving you your last warning, cause I'm at my prime. Yeah. I'm at my prime. Whoa. Have I gone too far? Do you detect something different? If you look inside my head, would you say something's missing? If you could give all your riches just to say the word, would you risk it? These politicians so old, can't tell if they're dead where they living. Better ask Kathy Griffin. You know I like to raise stakes. We was always taught to hit the gas, we ain't even know they made brakes. We control our own fate, watching dreams take shape. Try to keep us out, we gon' freak out, turn this bitch to water cake. I don't need your mandate, don't need you to elevate. I'm about to detonate, cause I'm at my prime. Yeah. I'm at my prime. Said I'm at my prime. We at our